Hello and welcome. This is my first live stream for car setup development. I don't really know why I haven't done it before, really. Surprised about that, really. I probably should have done, really. But anyway, today you're going to see how the sausage is made. So no matter where you go, the process of creating and developing car setups tends to be hidden away behind a paywall, which I find a little bit annoying and a little bit sad. And you only tend to see the end result at the, you don't see how it's made. You've got no idea the quality of the people that are working behind it. And you have to pay for the privilege of the setup at the end, and a bit of a lottery as to whether or not it's any good or not. So I wanted to start this channel. Hi, Tomo. I wanted to start this channel to encourage people to go into that advanced setup menu and not be scared about it, because it can be quite intimidating. There's a lot of things in there that you think, oh, I don't know what that does, I better not touch it. Well, I want to try and break through that if I can. So for me, setup work is more of a mindset. People see it as a black art. I see it personally as a mindset. And it's more about asking questions, really, like, is my engine running at the ideal temperature? Are the tyres being used efficiently? Is my top speed competitive with the people around me? Or even just a simple observation about the car. You could say, oh, why is it doing that? I would like to know more about doing that. And then you create a theory, and then you go and test your theory. And then sometimes multiple tests are required, but you finish those tests and you come back, and sometimes the test results don't match your theory. Okay, fine, your theory's wrong, but it's not a failure. It's just simply you've now got more information to structure your new theory. Go testing, rinse and repeat. It kind of it sort of needs a bit of resilience. Hi, Kev. And it needs curiosity. If you haven't got those two things, then you're already on the back foot. But we're racers. We want to go faster. We want to win, don't we? That's what we're here for. So, yeah, if you haven't got resilience and you haven't got curiosity, I'm not really sure if that's racing for me, but we all go racing in different ways, don't we? So it isn't for everybody. I fully understand that, but this is such a powerful tool, and it's available to everybody. To not use it just seems madness to me. So anyway, I'll get down from me soapbox. So tonight I'm going to be developing a car setup. I'm going to be explaining what I'm feeling and any changes I make as I go. I wanted to stream it so that anybody who wanted to jump in and ask questions could do so. If we get time, maybe put a couple of theories to the test that have been thrown at me, and just try and make it a fairly nice, relaxed atmosphere. Just somewhere where people can come along, ask their questions if anyone joins me, and just have a nice time watching this car develop into something which hopefully, if not ultimately faster, should be easier to drive, and then over the course of the race should be faster come the end. So the car that I've chosen is the 2019 stock car from the Brazilian stock car series. It's a really nice car. The only thing it's missing is the ability to change the mainsprings, but everything else is really good. The car's very reactive, and it's very, very responsive to changes, not in a bad way, in a good way, and it reacts very very predictably with the changes that you make as well. So it's a really, really good example car to use in this. So the environment we're going to be testing in is going to be like a race practice day. So I'm going to have all the other cars, all the other grid around me. So it's going to be a custom event. You can see there 3 hours practice has been penciled in. I don't think we're going to need 3 hours of practice. I hope we're not going to need 3 hours of practice. Once we reach the point where I'm happy and any questions have been answered, I will likely skip to end and then head into a 25-minute race where we'll start from sort of middle of the package. The AI has been set to 115 there, just because that's where I was when I did the intro video, where I was using the default setup, and I struggled to get into the top 6 come the end of the race with that setup. So be interesting to see if we've made any progress there. So ideally, we'll have this done and dusted before the clocks tick over into Tuesday, and hopefully a fair bit before that, I would hope. So, right, let's get trackside then. We're going to go to the Interlagos stock Car Brasil layout. So the lap times at the Interlagos circuits, they're really, really good. Like, we're not going to get near them today, but that's not the point of today anyway. But when you look at some of the TT setups, they've all got they've closed off all the brake ducting, all the radiator ducting, and the pressures for the tyres are high because they've only got one lap to do. And, so yeah, it's very much a time trial specific setup, not relevant to what we're doing here today at all. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do a 5-ish lap run on the default setup, and then we're going to come back and then we're going to have a little look and see what we can do with it from there. So let's go and stick 5 laps on the board with the default setup. So just to absolutely, so where are we? Edit setup, reset, happy days. Right, reset, yes. Okay, let's go do 5 laps. We're not looking to set the world alight here. We are simply going out to do 5 consistent laps. Does sound nice. Yeah, just 5 nice consistent laps, because I'm going to show you how you can get the majority of it done using data-led decisions very quickly, very easily. So whilst I'm driving around, you'll notice in the fuel section on my, hi Martin, in the fuel section on my, in my fuel section, on the overlay at the bottom of the screen, can't get my words out, there's a little temperature bar that's been added there, so keep an eye on that. That's water and that's oil. And keep an eye on mainly the right side tyres, because it's an anti-clockwise circuit. The inside tyres are less relevant in terms of data, so keep an eye on the right hand side tyres, the inside, middle, outside temperatures especially. And also keep an eye on the brake temperatures. Now the brake temperatures, if you're looking at the right side tyre section, there's a number in there with a little brake disc next to it. 290-ish at the moment for the right front. Keep an eye on that. Yeah, just monitor those as I'm going around and just see if you spot any trends, any patterns, anything that looks a little bit amiss. No, I can't afford to, I've got to drive it sensibly. I can't just tickle it around. I have to drive it with a little bit of aggression, a little bit of venom, because if I don't do that, then the numbers won't tell the story properly. Need to watch out for that. So immediately we can, I think in order to even test properly, we need to move the brake balance forwards a bit, so do that in a second. You hear the rear locking up there on the way in? the revs really dropped and bogged down. So let's bring that forwards. 62. See how that goes. No, let's go 63, be on the safe side. It was quite a way back. It didn't feel right at all. The car actually feels really, brake balance aside, the car feels really quite nice, this default. But for the time being, I'm not going to worry about that sort of stuff too much. These first runs are going to be about getting the fundamentals in place so that you can then start work on the balance of the car. And when I mean fundamentals, I mean radiator ducting, brake ducting, ride height, camber, caster, tyre pressures, all those sorts of things. There's no point really working on the damping or the anti-roll bars and that sort of stuff until all those other factors are correct. So that was better through there. A bit of push there, do you see that? Not that we're looking for that, of course. Yeah. Because that little bit of push there, that might disappear when you've got the fundamentals in place. So you're kind of chasing your tail if you start looking at that stuff too soon. So we've got right front, 83 on the inside, 78 on the outside, so immediately you'd say it needs a bit more camber, perhaps. What's the rear doing? So the front camber should get us a difference of about 6-7 degrees. The rear camber of about 4 or 5. It's quite busy here, it's difficult to look at it. At 83, 76, so 4, 5, 6, 7. So the rear's got a bit too much camber on it. Temperatures, so water is 80, oil is 106, so they're a little bit on the low side. So we could close off the radiator ducts a little bit. Rear brakes look a little bit on the cool side. Front brakes look probably not far off actually. Yeah, front brakes started to dip into the 700s there, so front brakes probably not far off. The rear brakes need to be closed off a little bit. So we've already got a little list of things to look at. But I'm going to show you a method that means you don't even have to worry about that in the early laps. Right, I'll do one more lap after this one. Just locked up the inside front there. You see how much that right front tyre lost in its life there. It's down to 83% already, just with one small lock-up. Right, I'll do one more lap, we'll come in, and I'll catch up with the chat. But you can see that, I mean, the car itself, it's actually really quite nice. It's perfectly drivable, there's nothing wrong with it, but it can be better. And that's what we're looking for here. It's that curiosity. How can I make it do that better? Or, it feels nice, but always looking for a question. Never being satisfied. Oh, another little lock up there. So 63 might be a little bit too far forward, so that's fine. It's certainly better where it is now than where it was before. But I'm not sure the right front tyre would agree though. Okay, we'll just cross the line so the lap registers. Okay, so let's return to the pits. Just catch up with the chat. So, how do you find the built-in telemetry page compared to your add-ons? So if you want to use the standard, now this is awkward actually, because if I go into Drive and then put my HUD on, you can't see anything now, can you? So bear with, let me drag that over there. No, not that. Where are we? There we go. Right, so this is called the AMS2 telemetry HUD, they call it. And basically, we've shown the right-hand front and rear because that's the most relevant tyres. So essentially, you've got the inside, middle, and outside temperature there, 28, 28, 28. Inside being on the left, so it's representative of the car itself there. So you got the pressure is 1.51. You got the brake temperature there. You've got so bump is the level of bump stop you've got set. So when we get into the setup sheet, we'll see it's like it should have 5 millimeters of bump stop in it. The travel is how much travel there is. So if you increase the bump stop value, then the travel will also reduce with it. So you've essentially got less movement before the suspension hits the bump stop. If you reduce the bump stop, obviously it's then the opposite. You've got more travel, but obviously then the wheel's going further into the wheel arch, and then you've got the height, which should be the ride height. So we'll have a look. At the moment, it should be 43 millimeters on the front. However, that's not been the most reliable gauge for me, so that might not be the case. But that's the telemetry HUD. You can use this. But it's a bit fiddly, and you also so the numbers that you see on this, they're live at the moment you're looking at them. There's no summary of them, there's no collation of data. It's literally that's what it is at this point in time, and literally 200 yards later it could be different. So it's not the most reliable source of doing it. So if I now just where's that? So let's put that back. Where are we? What am I doing? Let's put that back top. And I think fine, I'll go transform and send it horizontally. Right, cool. Right. Yes, so that's the AMS2 telemetry HUD. It can be handy. especially for the travel value. Sometimes it's worth it for the travel value because you get to see that on the go. Let's get back in the game. But there is an easier way, a much easier way, and it's a lot faster to do it this way as well. So in Second Monitor, and I would highly recommend anyone who doesn't use it to consider using this. So the Second Monitor app is this. So I have this on the left hand side of my second screen above my head, and I have it at all times, and you'll recognize the bits in the bottom left hand corner. They're the bits on my overlay, which you see normally. But it's got some really cool features in it, most notably the features that come out of this button here. So if we come in here, and I'm going to have to come back to my other view now. Right, so bear with. So it looks really big, so I have to resize it, unfortunately, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. And as it's a nice relaxed stream, it doesn't really matter. So now, I'm not going to start suggesting everyone go and use telemetry. All these wiggly graphs, it's confusing, it's labour intensive, and it's not the most user friendly. If you're a proper engineer and you know what you're looking at, fantastic, perfect. If you're not, it's just off-putting and quite frankly confusing. So what I like to do, so there's this, I'm just going to move the chat a little bit because so I can see it. So you've got this button here is really helpful. So what this button does, it shows you a summary of that lap. Now I'm not going to choose lap 2 because it's a little bit early, although it was the fastest time of that set of laps. I'm going to choose lap 5 because it's the later lap and everything would have been properly warmed up at that point. So if we click on that lap, it gives you a lap 5 summary basically. So we can see here that at no point did I apply 100% brake power. So that tells me that the brakes are overpowered, which is why it's so easy to lock the brakes. That coupled with the fact that the brake balance was maybe a bit too far forward when I adjusted it. So straight away I can come into the setup sheet and I can go to the advanced setup and I can drop the brake pressure. We'll say drop that down to we'll drop it down to 80, and then if that number in here increases too much, so we're on full brake for say 20% or whatever, you know, it's a bit much, we can then increase it a little bit as well. But for now I'm quite happy to drop 10% off it, just because if it's locking that inside front wheel, that's going to screw your race over. We can't afford that. So nice one change which we can make immediately. Engine temperature. So we hit a maximum temperature of 84. Our target is about 100. The oil temperature is 108, 125. Thankfully and handily, that means that we can use that as a direct percentage value. So we are 16% too much cooling. So we can literally come in to the drivetrain section, go to radiator, drop that down. It comes in 5%, so drop it down 15%. That should put us roughly in the ballpark of where we want to be. And what we'll do, we'll go out, so we'll make these changes, we'll go out, we'll do another run, and then we will come back and look at the next set and see if it's correct or not. Tyre pressures, bit of an awkward one this one, but we can have a look at it all the same. So we've got an ideal tyre pressure is 198 kilopascals. Now 0.01 bar is 1 kilopascal, so it works out really, really nicely. So we basically need to reduce our front tyre pressure here, and we also need to reduce the rear tyre pressure, but not quite as much. So we are over pressured a little bit, 1.39 kilopascals on the front, the right front, and on the right rear we're over pressured by 0.43 kilopascals. So essentially I'm going to drop the front pressures by about 0.12 bar, and the rear pressures by about 0.8 bar. So let's go into there, so we can drop that. Well, that would be nice. That brings us down to 1.4, and then the rear was 0.43, so let's drop that down. So that's 5.1, 2, 3. Let's go 4.5. Just make it a nice round number to start with, and we can always come back. We can revisit it. This doesn't. We're not looking for a perfect answer here. We're looking for, has it made the difference I'm looking for? Can I refine it further in later runs? This is good enough. Close enough in this situation is good enough. And because all of these decisions are data driven, you can make multiple changes in one go. It makes it really nice, it makes it really easy, and the fact that it's data driven, even if the data is not necessarily 100% correct in terms of its parameters and its limits and stuff, if it's consistent, it's not the end of, that it's not quite 100% is not the end of the world. As long as you're consistently wrong, you will end up working and compensating for it naturally anyway, so it's not the end of the world. Tyre temperatures, so this is going to be an interesting one. So we saw, so we got a cold, so the tyre is considered to be running cold when it's under 70 degrees C, and it's considered to be running hot when it's over 100 degrees C. Our tyre was a minimal temperature of 81, maximum temperature of 97.6, so we're getting pretty close to the edge there. Average temperature of 85.4, so that's all right. I'm okay with that. I don't mind if it even peaks above 100, so long as it comes back to a sensible level afterwards. So we've got green for, so at no point are they cold, at no point are they hot here, on the right front at least. Left front's a different story. We are 2.38 degrees off of being too hot, and we're 11.6 degrees off of being too cold. Our outside-inside minimal difference is 2.66 degrees, and our maximum outside-inside difference is 13.6 degrees. So that's massive, and the average outside-inside difference is 6.54. So ideally that'll be just a little bit higher, but excuse me, if you compare that to the left front, where the gaps are, well, it's a lot bigger there. That doesn't quite seem right to me, that 13.6. I'm not quite convinced by that 13.6, but I suspect that I might have another look at a different lap and just see if that carries over. But for now, we've got a bigger outside-inside difference on the inside average than what we have, on the left front than what we have on the right front. So that tells me that it's not necessarily camber. We might be able to rectify that with caster. So caster, one of the effects of caster, which is quite a difficult one to explain, but when you increase the level of caster in terms of race car terms, you'll find that the steering wheel feels heavier. The car becomes more stable. It tracks in a straight line more stably. The wheel becomes heavier. The reason it becomes heavier is because you're essentially lifting the inside of the chassis a little bit. Essentially, that's the weight you're feeling, is when you're turning the wheel, you're jacking the chassis up a little bit, and that's why go-karts turn so much more aggressively with more caster, because it basically lifts the inside rear wheel off the ground, which then allows it to turn, because they haven't got a diff, have they, a kart? So you need to lift the inside wheel. So caster's a really powerful tool, especially in karting. But here, we may be able to make use of it, because one of the other effects of caster is that the outside wheel gains negative camber and the inside wheel gains positive camber, which should, in theory, equal or even these two out a little bit. So yeah, so when you're turning, basically the wheels would sort of do that in terms of their cambers a little bit, and it means that the inside wheel might run a bit flatter. So that's something we can look at. So I might change the caster before I change the camber, long story short. And then the rear is too much. You see there that the difference outside-inside average is at best 6.19 degrees. That should be between 4 and 5, so we can drop the rear camber as well. We've got 2.5. Let's drop that down to 2, and I think let's add into 6.5, and I think that'll be a really nice, sensible change. Sorry, I've got a real tickly cough. It's very annoying. So that's tyre temperatures, and I think that will resolve most of those. But again, we'll come back to this, and we'll make decisions based on the data, which is really nice. Brake temperatures. So they are deemed cold at 150 degrees, and they are deemed hot at 750. We never reach 750, and they average on the front about 370-ish. And then on the rear, same deal, 150 cold, 750 hot. They are getting pretty close to being cold there, aren't they? So we need to close off the rear brake ducts, as I thought. So the fronts, so they're 92 degrees off of being too hot, 65 degrees off of being too cold. So we actually probably could actually close off the fronts a little bit, but I think when we're pushing a bit harder and when we're asking more of the car, I think those temperatures are going to go up. So I'm going to leave the fronts where they are, and the rears we can definitely close off. So let's come back to the setup. So let's drop that down to, what was that? That's, it's going to be 10 or 15. Let's start at 10. So drop it down from 50 down to 40. Right. And lastly, ride height. Okay, alright, so there's quite a lot of information on this here, but what we're really looking at is this. So these bottom counts here, this means that at no point did the chassis touch the ground, so that's good. So we are average rake, we are 7.7298 millimeters approximately lower at the back compared to the front. So we've got a negative rake on average throughout the lap, so we need to increase the rear ride height. So it's 7.7 mil. We may as well increase it by about 10 mil, try and get a 3 or 4 millimeter average rake, positive average rake. So do we have, so we can't lower the front, we can raise the rear. Fantastic. So let's go from 55 to 65, and that immediately, so that's quite a big change to that setup. There's a lot of things there, but as I mentioned, because it's data driven, you can make more changes in one go. There's no real major risks involved. So let's leave that now. Let's come out of here and come out of here, and let's save our progress. Right, so let's now go and do another 5 laps or so and see how the car has behaved and reacted to it. So there's no other chat. I kind of appreciate that was quite wordy, but if you've got any questions about that, feel free to leave it in the chat, and I will go into greater detail or try to explain myself better if needed. And don't be shy either. If you feel like you're like, ask. No silly questions. Oh, brake balance. I didn't change it today. Let's go 62. But I imagine it'll be able to handle 63 now. So cold tyres, the car is always very lazy. non-responsive. Immediately you feel the caster change, much heavier on the steering. The front tyres are not there yet. I don't want to lock them up at such an early stage. The boost is not active either in practice or qualifying, just so you're aware. So all the times being done are just genuine times. Yeah, so the rear just started to move there. So let's go to 63. But the front tyre, the right front has increased in temperature a lot faster than the right rear has. Took that curve quite nicely. A little bit of movement there again. So I suspect we'll be looking at the differential as well today. Because you can't just keep whacking the brake balance forwards, that's not the solution all the time. So we must have gone faster because we started out in 22nd position and now we're 21st, so we must have gone faster. Certainly feels nicer. It's got a more confidence-inspiring front end. The rear needs work. Right, we'll do one more lap after this. So this early work, especially where it's data driven, you can do relatively short runs. You've still got to do a decent run, you've still got to get the car fully warmed up. But they don't have to be, it's not like when you're working on improving tyre wear, a bit late on the brakes there, that was my fault. When you're working on tyre wear on long runs, you basically got to do 30-minute stints, and that's where the time goes. Up to 16th now. Yeah, so the rear is consistently unstable in the braking zone there. A little bit loose on exit there. Can't afford those wheel spins. Rear was just a little bit unstable there as well. But I suspect back there that was more me than the car. Just a combination, I mean, just a little bit late on the brakes. Okay. Right, so a good sensible few laps there. Nothing fundamentally wrong with them. A few little errors, but nothing major, nothing that's going to affect our data. So back to the pits. Well, the second monitor app, it's a chap called, I hope I'm saying it, his name is Mattis Chelko, I think is how you say it. Really helpful guy. There's a link to it in the description of this video that will take you to the Razor thread for it. There's loads of information on there. There's also the download link and stuff there as well, but there's loads of information about people using it and the updates he's made to it over time. It's just really, really helpful, and it really does allow you to get to the information you need without having to dig into graphs and stuff, which I'm not a fan of graphs, if I'm honest with you. So right, let's come back to this then. Let's put that. I'm going to have to every time, aren't I? Drag that over. So hopefully we should see. Let's sort that. So player first and lap time is to player first and lap number, just so we don't get the old ones mixed up. So lap. That must be the end of the lap. Okay, let's not trust that one. Let's go 7, 8, 9, and then you also then get the best lap of the AI cars as well, so you can then compare how you are with them as well. So let's 38.0, 37.7, 37.9. So let's look at the 37.7. That's our fastest lap so far. So we've still got no full brake application. So I don't really want to go any less than 80, and it didn't feel like it was underpowered. It didn't feel like it was overpowered. It felt quite nice. I felt like I had a nice amount of modulation there. So I'm not too concerned by that. And I suspect as we get into improving the balance of the car, the confidence will come. And especially when we look at probably the diff settings, I think the confidence on the brakes will come from there. Because at the moment, if I hit the brakes hard enough, then the rear gets all funny and doesn't really appreciate it very much. So I think that might come to us. So let's leave that for the moment. Engine temperature 91, 114. We could go a little bit lower again, possibly. However, that's a nice buffer there. So if you're in traffic, I could see that increasing. I think that's a thing in AMS2. Certainly in real life it would be. If you were in real life, we've not followed anyone yet, have we? So that could be a thing. So 91, 114, I'm quite happy with that being there. So again, quite happy to leave those where they are. Tyre pressures. So we are just under the ideal, which is perfect, because now this PD of average to ideal. So I like mine to be just under that. So, and the reason for that is that if you have it so that it's on the limit and you need to push a bit harder, you're going to push harder, you're going to increase the temperature of the tyre, it's going to increase the pressure inside the tyre. And what will happen is, as the pressure increases, the tyre tread goes from flat to being bulged, and then you end up running on the middle part of the tyre, which then causes overheating, and then it just compounds and cycles out of control. If you have it a little bit under, which is where I like it to be, it means that if I need to push a little bit harder, I've got that little ceiling where it's still okay to do so, and it works really nicely. Excuse me. Right. So that's I'm happy with those now as well. That's like bullseye. Happy days. Right. The rear. Yep, I'm happy with that as well. So 0.74 and 0.68 respectively. And then we've got 0.36 and 0.16. So well, the inside or the left tyres are less relevant at this stage because of the nature of the circuit. Right. Tyre temperatures. Excuse me. So we've got 5.96, 7.59. We could probably go up on the, but you see there the differences are closer together now. So that caster change I think was the right thing to do. I think we could increase the camber a little bit now. Not very much, just a little bit. And the rear. Oh, this cough's going to be the death of me. Looks like it could. So the inside rear, I'm okay with that being 7, because the geometries of the car, of race cars, generally are that when they're in extension, i.e. the inside wheels in extension, it tends to run on the inside edge of the tyre. So I'm okay with that 7, and that's about right, I would say. Maybe a little bit less again. Yeah, we go maybe a little bit less again on the rear camber. Let's go 1.7, and let's increase that to 3.2. Brake temperatures 374, 287. We could probably go a little bit further on the rear brake ducting, couldn't we? That's just to even those out a little bit. Oh dear. Excuse me again. Yes, so we can drop that down a little bit just to try and bring these up a little bit. It's not because they're not far off being too cold. Obviously, the more you go down in the percentages there, the more effect it's going to have, I think. So it needs to be a little bit careful. It doesn't then suddenly sky up. So, and then ride height, average rake 2.3. So we're now positive rake, which is great. So that extra 10 mil, spot on. So we're all green there. We're all green in the brake temperatures, but with a little bit extra on the rears. Tyre temperatures, well, the insides, they're not really working very hard, but the outside tyres are looking good. Tyre pressures, they're all green, they're all looking good, and they're all just slightly under the ideal, which is fine, gives us a bit of a ceiling. Engine water and oil temperatures are all looking good, so that's great. And the brake application, I think we might end up using more of it as the car improves. So, right, So we can close that now. I'm fairly happy with where that is. And the only other thing I use this for, really, apart from speed comparisons, is the suspension here. So if we go to here, now these histograms here are very helpful, but if you're just looking at one lap, the data can be quite noisy. This left front, for example, here, this big spike here. So I like to try and select more than one lap. So I, oh my goodness, excuse me. So I select more than one lap here, and then that cleans and smooths the data out and just gives you a more representative view of things. So we can see, and we're looking for a fairly uniform sort of bell curve here. Now the front looks a fair bit flatter than the rear does, doesn't it? So it looks like it's maybe slightly over damped. So it's spending it's spending more time in these slower speed areas. So each bar here, so the 0 bar is where the suspension isn't moving at all. This is how much time it's spent in terms of the percentage of the lap. So just over about 6% has been spent without the suspension moving at all. And then you move outwards. So this side here is compression, where the wheel's being compressed into the wheel arch, and this side here is bump, and then this side is rebound, so where the wheel is being extended out, i.e. it's dropping down. So you want them to spend an equal amount of time in both bump and in rebound. And handily, yes, you can sit back and you can sort of like thumb it and look at it, but you also get the numbers here. So you got an average here of, it's minus 29 millimeters per second on rebound, and it's 31.3 millimeters per second on bump. So that tells me that the rebound is, that the bump can be lowered a little bit. It means that you can allow the bump damping to move more freely, so you can reduce the damping a little bit. So this speed here, it's not car speed. This is the speed that the damper is being compressed. So it's, for want of a better term, because it's a bit of a giggly term, it's the shaft speed that matters. So the faster it's going in, the better it is sometimes. So you'll see here that the rebound is slightly slower than the compression. So we can either stiffen the rebound or we can soften the compression a little bit on the front. I would probably choose to soften the compression because I think that might help our braking stability a little bit. And then on the rear we are minus 31.5 and then 33.6, same again, and that will help with our traction as well a little bit, so we can then reduce the rear a little bit as well. I think one click for now, we'll see how much difference that makes to the car. So in terms of data, they're the items which I would play with. Everything else after that is now down to feel and what I can tell through the feedback of the car. So let's go and do another run now, and we'll keep an eye on those other factors, but they should only need tweaking from here on in. Let's go and do another run and then we'll focus this next run on what the car is doing now and try and identify the areas where it needs to be improved. Honestly, this cough is horrible. What a time to get it as well. I do apologise. So, Nelson Pigo Jr. behind us. Not quite off the temperature yet, so might be holding up a little bit. It'll be quicker than us anyway, I imagine. He's currently 16th, looking at that, so we'll be holding him up a little bit. I've still not adjusted the brake balance, have I? Nope. Just take it a bit easier then. Bit of 63 again. Got a little bit of push in the fast stuff. Suspect the downforce is a bit on the high side. Just see there. Took that quite nicely though. I was real late on the brakes there and it took that really well. Just pushing out. Bit late on the brakes. Oh, that was so close to a lockup. I think we've used 100% brake this lap anyway. The front was pushing there a lot. And there, it's pushing the whole way there. Yeah, so more than happy to reduce the rear downforce. Because it's just, and that's not really going to affect the slow speed braking issues we've got either. I'm happy to make that change in conjunction with something else because I can isolate the two in my own head and through the feedback. We'll do one more lap and we can see there that the front tyre wear is slightly higher than the rear, so we're 95% on the front, 96 on the rear, right front, which confirms my suspicions that the car is working the front too much. So even just there, just a very, it's a totally flat out corner, but it just, if you don't quite get it right, it pushes the front out to the outside of the circuit here especially. Granted, downhill exit, to be expected as well, but it's doing it to a degree I don't really like. And then just at the crest here, yeah, so what have we got? We've got high speed understeer, fine, rear downforce, easy peasy. Still got a slight instability in the rear of the car, and I think that's only really needing a very small change to the diff, nothing major. And mid-corner understeer, so all three separate things, so we can make our changes quite easily. Alright. Okay. Right, so let's come back to the pits. Yeah, the dummy histograms are very helpful. They just give you that visualization of how they're balanced out. But really, the histograms aren't needed because the numbers tell the story. So, and that's what I kind of like looking at numbers rather than graphs. But we're all different, aren't we? So it's nice to have the option. Right, so let's get back into here. Right, before we get any further, let's just have a quick look at the numbers again. Yeah, so I'm quite a fan of, you know, certain things being data driven. However, only for the early stuff, getting the fundamentals in place. After that, I tend to err on the side of driver feel than data. I will use data to back up a theory, maybe, but generally speaking, yeah, I won't like to use it. So we want then lap number, and we want lap 11, 12, and 13. So we're now in the mid 37s, which is nice. That's an improvement, isn't it? Right, so we are 29. It's made very little difference, is it? 28. So we got 32.3, 33.6. So the rear's a bit closer. Oh no, it's swapped around, isn't it now? So now the front is slightly quicker than the rebound. Sorry, now on the rear, the bump, sorry, not the front, the bump on the rear is now slightly faster on average than the rebound, so it's actually gone slightly the other way. But I'm okay with that because that helps with the traction a little bit, so that's absolutely fine. And likewise actually, so just that one click has made the speed swap at the front as well. It's now slower on the rebound than it is on the bump. So, a bit of a decision to make, really. But I think we'll leave that because it's clearly quite a powerful change, and the small one click made that much difference. So, I'm not really going to sweat that too much. So then let's have a quick look at lap 12 data. There we go. So we've got 6.47% now of full braking. And I actually felt like I could use it as well, especially in a straight line. That was mainly that first corner braking zone. That's pretty consistent, isn't it? That's fine. Gives us a bit of a ceiling as well. Tyre pressures are all green. They're all negatives, so they're all still slightly under, which is great. Tyre temperatures, 7-degree average, so split across the two it's 8. 5 split across the two it's 6. So we could reduce the rear again a little bit further, but I don't really feel the need to. I'm quite happy with that where it is. I'm happy with that where it is. Brake temperatures, that's more like it. That's more like it. Don't really want to close it off anymore at the back. Crikey. Yeah. Yeah, we could close off the rear a bit more. But that's sort of nitpicking. I think because they're running where they want to be, they're always running in the green. So I think I'm quite happy with that. And if it was an endurance race, I'd be more inclined to run them on the cooler side so that they last longer. Yeah, we'll for now we'll leave them where they are. So yeah, brakes and ride height is still our positive 2.5 mil, which is lovely. So I'm happy now to leave the data out of this now. Now this is purely what I'm feeling, what I think I'm hearing, seeing, feeling. So all components mechanical. I'm trying to speak. Yeah, doing very well, thank you. Yes, glad you're enjoying the content as well. Life is treating me well. Yes, 17 months. Oh mate, you're in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're in the thick of it now. Yeah, it is hard, isn't it? Yeah, it is hard. There's no two ways around it. Right, so definitely rear downforce is too much, and it's by quite a bit. So I'm going to drop that down by 2 points, and I'm more than happy with that. Brake bias, before I forget, 63. That's because that's where I ran it with my in-car adjustments whilst I was on the circuit. So we'll set it now 63. I won't have to keep doing that. Downforce down to 3. The suspension, I think I'm going to take some out of the front roll bar. I'm going to take 30 Newton millimeters out of the front roll bar, which is 3 clicks, and that's just it. So obviously the rear downforce is for the really high speed stuff, just keeping the front end in a bit better, and just giving the front end a slightly easier time holding the apex line. This anti-roll bar change is solely for the mid corner, so when the car is sort of steady state and everything's settled in, and it's literally just like wait, go, throttle. So you're sort of on the brakes, wait, go, throttle. That wait bit, that's where the anti-roll bar change is being used. So that's just to try and help the front end again hold that tighter line a bit better. I suspect as well it will also help with the braking stability as well. So when you've got a really stiff front roll bar on it, you're basically connecting the inside and outside wheels more and more. So the stiffer you go with the roll bar, the more you're connecting. So if you took all the suspension off the car and jacked the car up, if you then lifted one wheel on its suspension, the other wheel would lift with it. So, and obviously if you're over a bumpy surface and this wheel's going up, it's going to try and lift this wheel as well at the same time. Although it keeps the chassis stable, it has a negative effect. So allowing the wheels to work more independently of each other, because the thing which is connecting them is weaker, can really help with the braking stability as well. So I'm really happy to see that being dropped down, because it's actually really quite high. And then the braking stability, I think, is going to be all controlled by this little bad boy here. So diffs in their simplest sense, they are the connecting item between the two driven wheels on that axle. So you've got wheels, uprights and bearings and stuff, then you've got the axle that goes into the diff, basically, which is then being driven by the engine. But the diff bit is the important bit here. So when you're turning, again, if you jack the car up and you just leave it on the stands, if you turn one wheel with a completely open diff, then the other wheel will rotate in the opposite direction. And if you held that wheel on one side, and you could then turn that wheel as well, and this one wouldn't do anything. Now, with a limited slip differential, excuse me, you've got a mechanism on the inside that when this wheel, if you're holding this wheel and this wheel starts to spin, then it transfers some of this wheel's rotation into this wheel, so you won't be able to hold it. And you can vary with these different sections, with the preload, the clutches and the ramps. You can vary how much of this rotation goes into this wheel. Now, the preload is a constant force. I've got a description in the video of it, so there's a glossary of terms, and it should hopefully give you, if you go in there and have a little read, you should hopefully see some information there about the preload, the clutches and the ramps, but I'll try and explain it as best as I can anyway. So the preload is a constant force acting on the entire internals. The clutches, essentially think of them as like a multiplier. So 2 clutches will be quite a weak multiplier. 10 clutches, which is the maximum, is like, yeah, times 10, you are going. It isn't a multiplier, but think of it like a multiplier. So, and then you've got the ramps. Now, how do you explain the ramps? So you've got, within the diff itself, there is like a set of four gears going around. You've got one there, one there, one there, and one there, and then you've got 2 gears that go in the side that then connect to them. So when this one rotates, these gears rotate that way, and then this one rotates that way. But these 4 gears on the outside are on like a spider, if you like a four-pronged spider. And when the torque of the engine tries to rotate that spider, then it slides essentially within this cage, which then tries to force the cage apart into the clutches and then the preload, and then that's what then locks everything together. Now, the severity of that, how much the cage is forced apart, is driven by these ramps here. So you have essentially, if you think of it like a pin that's going through a V shape, you can change the angle of that V, and if it's really shallow, then it goes in really easily and it forces them apart really easily. When it's really wide angle, it gets to the end and it sort of can't really force them apart very much. It's much harder to force them apart. So if you have a lower number here on either coast or power, then it's much more then it's more aggressive. So less number is more aggressive, a higher number is less aggressive. So that 50 degrees there, that's a 50-degree angle of the V, which the pin is going into and trying to force apart. So you got a V there, and then the cage is essentially split in the middle, so it's one half of it. So then that V then gets forced apart by the pin that's being forced into the gap, and then you got the clutches on the outside of that, which then basically give you the friction, which then connects the 2 inside and outside wheels. But obviously torque goes in 2 different directions in this scenario. So you have torque of acceleration, which is going that way, and then you've got torque of deceleration, which is going that way. So you can separate how aggressively the clutch, you can separate how aggressively the diff locks up on both power and coast. So you can change your power ramp to be really aggressive, and then you can have a really soft and easy coast ramp, or you can have it the other way around, or you can have it equal. So I'm quite happy with these values. I'm quite happy with the clutches where they are. Excuse me, but I think the preload overall needs to be increased so that everything that's acting on it is... So I don't want it to engage more aggressively. I don't want it to be different on power or coast. I just want a more constant friction there to help stabilise the rear of the car. And if I run it really, really loose, the rear of the car will move around quite a lot, and it won't be very stable. If I increase the preload, it basically makes the rear of the car, it sort of keeps it from, it can't manoeuvre quite as easily or as freely. So you're not locking it in, but you're creating a drag that sort of prevents the rear of the car from being able to move quite so much. So I'm going to increase that by quite a bit. I'm going to go up to 250, and I think that might well be too much. But I want to show you the difference it makes, because it's such a powerful change. But I am happy with the clutches, and I'm happy with the power, and I'm happy with the coast ramp. Now, if any of that didn't make any sense at all, and I don't cover it again or it doesn't get asked, feel free to contact me, and I'll do my best to explain it, or find sources that explain it better than I can. But I think, in my head, I think I've done a good job, but you never know. Okay, right, so let's go out again with a reduced rear downforce level, a softer front roll bar, and an increase in rear diff preload. And that rear preload as well, so excuse me, so the anti-roll bar would be needed anyway, because that's going to lock the rear end more, so that's going to make that sort of wait phase is going to make it harder for the front end anyway. So we might need to, in fact I can change the front anti-roll bar level on the fly on the steering wheel. So this has adjustable roll bars in the cockpit, so I may well choose to do that. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, these 3 runs, Tomo, it's because it's data driven. You can pretty much, like the radiator opening. You can see you're about 15% off. So drop it by 15%. It's like sorted. There's just no guesswork, and it's summarised, and it's not a snapshot in time. It is. That's the average of that lap. So it's just a really nice way of using it. And the software, you don't have to have it on a screen and visible. You can have it running in the background and just silently in the background. I mean, I have it on the screen because I use it for the overlays on my screen to you, and I also use it for like the track map and the fuel stuff, and the timing section is really handy as well when I'm on the when I'm on the racetrack. It's just a really, really nice bit of software, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. Right, let's get out there and try these changes. Right, come on, drive. So I'm hoping now we should have a nice stable car that holds a line in the fast stuff, holds a line in the mid corner, and comes into the corner in such a way where I can actually push it. So in the racing situation, I'm not constantly wondering, is the rear going to snap out on me? We're still not quite there with the tyre temperatures yet. Okay, a bit better on the fast stuff, especially given the tyres aren't quite there yet as well. The extra preload should make the rear of the car a bit more positive on the exit as the corners as well. See? Oh, come on, you lot. Everybody's coming in by the looks of it. They've all done their qualifying runs. So in practice, they all do qualifying simulations. And that's all they do. So they'll go out, they'll do 3 laps, and then come in again. Nice. Much more stable. Can we hold a tyre line on him? We can. So that's nice. The reduced downforce has helped that. A genuine overtake, that's good. And it feels nice on the way in there as well. I could have braked a bit later there, just a little bit. Yeah, just night and day different. I mean, it wasn't bad before. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, you use so much more confidence when you're trading the brake off going into the apex. See, this is why I fiddle with setups, because it makes it more enjoyable to play the game. Ah, that's very late there. I was taking the mickey there. Lock the left front up a little bit, I think, looking at that. Yeah, just a little bit. Just place it nicely as well. That wait and part of the mid corner, still a little bit understeery. So let's drop that down to 130. So that's the front anti-roll bar now been reduced a little bit. I mean, look how much I'm taking the piss out of it, and it's just taking it. Now you got to be careful with, if you increase the preload too much, you get into a situation where you get what's called being diff locked, where you can't turn the car. You just physically can't get the car turned, and it sits there. Right, I'm taking the mickey a bit now. I'm so happy with this already. Yeah, so diff locked is when basically the rear is so well locked in that the front can't overcome the resistance in the rear end and it can't rotate the car. And I actually thought I might have induced that a little bit with such a big change. But I don't think it's not far off being in that situation, but not quite. You can just play with it so much more. It's just so much nicer and easier, so much more user friendly. Right, cool that there. Right, so there's still some things there I'm not quite happy with. It's not. Cheers, Bradley. Yeah, thank you. So it feels like when I'm using the suspension on the car, it feels like it's rather than the chassis, when I turn the car, rather than the chassis rolling, going into the suspension, and then the weight of the car going through the tyre, or through, so weight of the car of the chassis going through the suspension, through the tyre and into the ground. It feels like the chassis is not allowed to roll nicely, and then it's sort of going into the tyre too soon, and then the tyre then doesn't get the chance to really bite to the ground, so the tyre's not able to communicate to the ground properly. Essentially, to me, that feels like the damping is too stiff, basically. If I soften the damping... we've got a lot of very low frame rate. I might have to close this and reopen it in a sec. So, yeah, if I soften the damping, it means that the chassis will be allowed to roll into the damping more, because it won't resist it as much. So because the dampers are connected to the chassis, which is then connected to the suspension, so sorry, the chassis is connected to the top of the damper, the bottom of the damper is connected to the suspension, which is then connected to the tyre, which is connected to the ground. It feels like if I soften the damping, then the chassis will roll into the suspension more freely, giving less shock to the tyre, because the suspension is taking up more of the movement rather than it going straight into the tyre. And then it just allows it just to, so that weight transfers from the chassis into the ground in a much more softer, more gentle way, which allows the tyre to stay in contact with the road better. It's a long, very, very long-winded, poorly explained way of going about it, but that's how it feels to me. So let's go down one, and I'm going to go down two on the rebound, because I think that's going to help the tyre wear, and I also think it's going to help the exit of corners a little bit as well. So yes, the histograms are great, but when it comes to damping, unless you're doing fast damping itself, you may as well just do it by feel, really. That's the most important thing. and then the rear I'm going to soften by a fair bit. So I'm going to soften the rear by 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to go 4 on the rebound, just to give it more pliable behaviours. Okay, right, the frame rate's recovered again, so that's fine. Okay. There's nothing else really everything else sort of feels alright. That was a big change, that was really good. That was good. Everything, yeah, it all feels good. The only thing really left for me now is a question mark of tyre wear. I suspect I'll need to drop the roll bars. So if I was to say disconnect the rear roll bar completely and then drop, that went down to 130, didn't it? In that, so I changed that on the fly down to 130. So to make that reflect that as well. So if I was to drop 30 Newton millimeters out of the rear anti-roll bar, I could then drop the same out of the front and it not affect the balance of the car. But let's do this damping change first and let's go from there. It's nice you're learning. It's good. I always struggle because I don't know, because when you're explaining something, it's very difficult to know, to not assume knowledge. It's very difficult. Yeah, it is. To try and explain it, it's about like the best teachers in the world are the ones that can explain it without using ums and ahs when they're trying to explain it in a way where it doesn't require assumed knowledge. And I'm not a teacher, so I'm not very good at it, but hopefully I'll get better with time. Right, let's grab a quick drink and then head back out, try the stamping change. I might just increase the fuel level as well, actually, because that's not representative. So 25 litres is not representative of what we're actually going to have to use for 25 minutes, which is what the race we're going to be... Oh, wrong one. 20, that was. We're going to need about 60 litres in the car. So that's going to make a big change as well. Right. Okay. I suspect we've set our best time so far. Now ideally you wouldn't increase the fuel level and then go and do a test, but I'm pretty confident in my change. Already just going out of the pits on cold tyres, the difference is noticeable. So it's much more positive on cold tyres, which could be good, it could be bad. It could mean I've gone too far with it, so let's see. I'm also tempted to reduce the rear roll bar anyway, because I don't know if you noticed, but on the exit of the center S's there, trying to get on the throttle for the long left-hand corner, just got a little kick from the rear. So reducing the rear anti-roll bar will help reduce that problem as well. It should improve traction whilst you're still turning. It should also improve that as well. Just that you see where the rear just started just to move ever so slightly when I tried to apply the throttle there as well. See if I do it here as well. Not with him there. Dude, I think I'm trying to be helpful, but I'm not sure. Just there, that little kick. Reducing the rear anti-roll bar will help that. Now I haven't got buttons set up for the front, sorry, for the rear roll bar, only for the front. I ran out of buttons on my wheels, so that will have to be a garage change. The braking stability is so much better now. And I have a better feel for that movement of weight now. That was me, I used the curb a little bit. Just a ever so slight lock up there. So balance-wise, I'm really happy with it. I would like to see if I can improve that on-power kick. How do we compare top speed-wise? About the same, aren't we? So we're comparable top speed. Don't need to look at the data trace for that one. Yeah, better through the second part of that corner. Helps if you don't screw it up. Come on, dude. Yeah, that's nice. Right. I don't need to look at lap times there. So I know exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to it's definitely dropping frames. I might need to restart it. It seems like when it's on the circuit it's fine, but I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop this front roll bar. I'm going to basically get rid of the rear roll bar, and we're going to reduce the front by the same. So we're going to drop that down to 100. Right, done. Save. Test. Okay. Okay. Right. let's do one more run. Just test that. See, just make sure that it's got the effect I want. And then I'll come out of this, and then I think I'm ready to go and do a race, because I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot more without doing a race now. We need to see, we're at the point already where we need to see what the tyre wear is like and how it compares to the others around us towards the end of the race. So the only way you can do that is just to go racing and have some fun, which is the good bit. So yeah, right, so let's get out there. And we're doing good for time as well, which is really nice. So this change may not be ultimately faster over a lap. This is one of those changes that would really show up and benefit you towards the end of the stint. You see? And again, cold tyres, it feels much more positive than the default setup did. Much more positive. So what we're looking for is less of the kicks coming out of the slower corners. Like this one here, looking for less kick. Well, definitely less kick, it pushed it out. Yeah, you see, much more stable through there. Granted, still early days on tyre temperature, but already on cold tyres it feels more stable. See there over the crest, didn't kick out at all. Little bit there, but I was a bit overzealous on the throttle, to be fair. Yeah, that's nice. Much better race car. Proper taking the mickey out of it. It's just so satisfying when it's It all just comes together like that. Dude. Oh, what a shame. That was a nice lap, that one. Oh well, okay. Well, let's... I'm really happy with that. Let's park that. Just in case I didn't, let's just save it again, just to be on the safe side. Right. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. Our only setup here is the one we've been working on. We've changed... I mean, most things here have changed. But the car is already... I mean, it was a good... It had a really nice starting place anyway. There wasn't anything fundamentally wrong about it. It's... So I wanted to go big on the preload change, Tomo, just because I wanted to see if it fixed the problem. And I thought if it, the worst case by going too big was as it was going to diff lock the car basically, and it was not going to turn at all. But as it turns out, it was, I mean, I could probably reduce it a little bit maybe, but racing is going to sort of weed that out. But yeah, it was basically just go too far with it, or what I thought was going to be too far with it, and then go back and sort of, I then, based on how it felt, I then know roughly how far to go back. But as it turns out, I don't think I need to go back. Not yet anyway. There is nothing that the car is doing now that tells me that it's now set too high. It doesn't feel diff locked, but what will be telling is the tyre wear rate throughout the race, I think. I hope that helps explain it. Right, yeah, so we've changed most things. Tyre pressures, again, that's always personal preference anyway, depending on how you drive will determine. So 1.4, 1.45 won't necessarily work for you. That's always, like, depending on how you drive, how smooth you are, how much you go into the slip or into slide sometimes as well, how aggressive you are on the throttle, on the brakes, and how you heat the tyres and work the tyres. So that's always going to be personal, but that worked out really nicely. Maybe drop the rear a little bit just to give it a bit more traction, and then that would give me a bit more ceiling to work with. But I'm sort of prejudging it if I do that, so I don't want to prejudge it. Yeah, no, I think we'll leave it where it is for now. Pretty much, Tomo, yeah. I kind of, I thought 250 was going to be too far, being honest, but as it turns out, no, it wasn't. It's about where it needs to be. I think you can maybe go back to 225, maybe, but the evidence isn't there yet for me to say that it's needed. So let's do a race with it, and then we'll then see how it behaves, and then go from there. So the brake pressure changed, brake bias changed, the front ducting has stayed the same, rear ducting has changed and been closed off. That's quite a common thing actually in AMS2. The rear brakes do tend to run cool on most cars, but they are aware of it, and it is a work in progress. Rear downforce has been reduced, cast has been increased, camber has been increased a bit, front ride height stayed the same, that's as low as it will go. Bump stops, yeah, we haven't touched them. We can have a look and see how much travel's left actually. Let's do that. Let's quickly nip out and go and see how much travel there is on the car. Bump and rebound on the front has changed. Camber angle on the rear has been reduced. Ride height's been increased. Bump stop stayed the same. Bump and rebound's been reduced. Steering lock stayed the same. Toe angle has stayed the same. Not felt the need to change those at all. Anti-roll bar has been lowered. Rear toe stayed the same. anti-roll bar has been reduced. So the toes, excuse me, so if I was to reduce the rear toe in, it would just make the rear of the car a bit less stable, but it would come at the benefit of better tyre wear. However, that's assuming that the rear is stable. What it will do, because it introduces an instability, you end up getting a bit more sliding, and it can hurt you more than it saves you. But again, not really felt any need to look at that yet. It feels quite nice. The front toe angle, minus 0.2, it's a sensible value, but somewhere between there and 0 for me is where it should be. So I'm quite happy with it being minus 0.2. That's sensible. Sometimes you go in and you see it's like minus 1.5. You don't think so, mate. I'm not running my front wheels like that. No, thank you. But 0.2 is fine. Drivetrain, fuel's increased, yes. Fuel mapping is that standard 995 and 1. So yeah, maxed out on the fuel mapping. Radiator opening's been reduced. Gearing hasn't changed, no need to. And then the preload has been increased. Other than that, I don't think we want to increase the clutches. I think if we were to increase those, then the diff would become more aggressive. Everything would lock more aggressively, and I don't want it to lock aggressively. I like that it's user friendly with 6. So, and it's not like it's spinning up the inside wheel and then the car's not going anywhere. You're still driving forwards. So, whereas if you run at say 2 or 4, I suspect you'd find that the inside wheel would then start to spin more before it then locked to the other side, and then you'd then lose drive coming out the corners, and then you get left behind. So I'm quite happy with 6. That seems like a fairly good compromise there. So yeah, right. And the frame rate's recovered again. So should we come out of here, skip to end, and jump into the race and see how we get on with it? Yeah, there's no more questions, is there? No. Okay, cool. Right. Excuse me. This cough is still persistent, isn't it? Right. So we're going to be starting. Should be mid-pack. So we're going to be starting from 15th. And let's just make sure that we're. Why has that got an asterisk? What did we change? What else did we change? So we've got 60 litres of fuel. That's all correct, isn't it? Okay, fine. Right. Not going to have any rain because it's set to just be a medium cloud. So let's go and see how this races. Oh dear. Right, no more questions. No, right. Okay. Right, let's go see how it races. We get to use push to pass as well in this. A bit of oversteer there, but we're cold tyres, so no great concern at this stage. Oh, we're vulnerable on cold tyres, aren't we? He's on my rear quarter. Can we get him back? No, that's asking a bit much. So we don't have push to pass until we cross the line for the first lap. Now when I did my test race, in the default setup, the best place to use it was coming out of that last corner, up the hill, because it takes 100 seconds before you can use it again. So I used it every other lap coming up here, and that worked quite nicely. A bit late on the brake set. They take a really bad line through the second part of through the middle part of the S's there. The guy behind me is on the boost. This is my teammate as well. Easy, mate, calm down. We are teammates, don't forget. So you press the button, and then 5 seconds later, the little blue lights on the dashboard flash, and now we've got an extra amount of power. And it should run out just as we start to get into the braking zone. Don't forget to account for it on the braking zone, that you're going faster than you all normally would be. They're very good through here, so this isn't done yet. Cheeky git. Good racing though, isn't it? So I can't use it this lap. I have to wait till the next lap. Just need to try and make sure I'm close enough to make use of it. Take two. Nice. Bit keen on the throttle there. That was me more than the car, but maybe able to improve the rear traction a bit further. Maybe that drop of the rear tyre pressure might help that. Bit of downforce, Nelson. I'm pushing a bit too hard, really. Overdriving a bit. Which is fine now, but I may well suffer for this later in the race. Because the tyres are not particularly hardy. Whoa. Sorry dude, that was ill-judged. Go on. Let's try that again, shall we? Ooh, had a proper lock up there, no warning for that at all. Not even sure what wheel locked up. Feel sorry for Max Wilson behind me there. That's two overtaking manoeuvres I've kind of, they've been very messy. The sign of somebody who's overreaching. So I'm pressing push to pass. Just after I'm downshift, after the first downshift into that last corner. And then that means that as I snap into third on the way out, it starts to engage. So I'm not having to deal with extra power while I'm in second gear on the exit. Ooh. Too greedy. Ah. The short course truck version. Oh, come on, you lot. My lead foot. This is going to get smelly, isn't it? Their line there is really off-putting. We'll raise that with Razor. Oh, you gave that up easy. I missed my button press. Gonna be a bit later. Hey. Well, I couldn't have gone much tighter than that, could I? I feel like I was okay there. For a 3-wide corner, I think that was fair of me to do what I did. He's got boost. He's going to be... Let's keep him wide. Be a bit braver this time. Bit of extra braking confidence helped a lot there. We had a couple of little momentary locks, but nothing major. The tyres are definitely showing signs of not appreciating the effort they're having to go to. It sort of feels like they've really lost the edges of their grip now. Still, top 10, I'm happy with that already. Because the start was really bad. Where's me? Ah, I pressed it. I did press it. Obviously, I didn't press it. Obviously you didn't press it. Too late on the brakes. Didn't account for the extra speed. Driver error. So the tyre wear's looking pretty good. Pretty even now. %1 higher wear on the right rear compared to the right front. Ooh, errors ahead. Just snag the left front a little bit there. Knocked off 3%. Silly, never mind. At least I'm not the only one doing it anyway. That is a brave move if you can pull that off, mate. Oh, my right foot has let me down again. Sorry, dude. Whoa, easy Tiger. Right, let's move the brake balance forwards a little bit. Looks like we're all suffering a bit. think we can thank downforce level 3 for that. Well, look how aggressively he came back on the racing line there. Oh, Rubinho's there. Oh, that was so close. So we've got some characteristics on worn tyres that I don't like. Oh well, never mind. So we've got some characteristics on worn tyres that are needing some work. So this is where the setup work really now happens. This is where the time goes. It's trying to iron out all these little things. So, and I need to as well, because the actual races for these cars is longer, much more than 25 minutes. So yeah, we have work to do. Crikey, they brake a lot earlier at this end of the field than they do at the front. And to be fair, the car had given me plenty of warning shots at the exit of that last corner. I was taking liberties, so I definitely can't say I wasn't warned. Yeah, definitely lost a lot of stability. But it's not like it's just us that it's happened to. We saw the number of mistakes from the AI increase at the front of the field as well as the race went on. So I think we're all suffering the same. So the advantage is to be found in how can you suffer less. So that's where the focus needs to go. Okay, well, that's not the result I wanted, but still a damn good result. So skip that. So they were doing 37.7s. It's difficult to tell because obviously because you've got the push to pass. But they're sort of doing low to mid 37s. I don't think ours is faster than that. 36.9, yeah. So we're in the ballpark. We're in the right place, and we were catching. So really, I think the AI could have been a little bit stronger for that race. We could have done it 116, maybe 117, and that would have been a bit better. But the takeaway from here is that the tyre wear rate went off more for the rear than it did the fronts. So I suffered more for traction at the end of the race than I did for front end bite. So the next steps to look at would be, I think I'd probably lower that rear tyre pressure now. I think I'd lower that down maybe 3 clicks. And that would probably be about it for now, and then go out and try again. And then that's where the time is in trying to do those little tiny bits. But you've seen tonight, a couple of hours, you get the bulk of it done. The main parameters are sorted. You see an improvement in the lap time over the default. It's not difficult to do. I hope that's clear to see. And yeah, with a little bit of help from the second monitor app, it's just very easy to dial in those fundamental things, and then get 95% of the way there. Now these last 5% are solely just race specific changes that allow the car to operate, or basically lose less than everyone else around you. If you can do that, then you're on to a winner. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I was hoping to cover tonight. It's still, what, 2.5 hours, is it? So still a fairly lengthy stream. I will put timestamps in as much as I can, and hopefully that will help locate the information you're after. And if you've got any more questions or you want more specific details, feel free to leave comments below, and I will look to focus on those areas, maybe in a different stream another time, that focuses on a particular area of, say, we'll look at coast and power ramps and preload and clutches. You know, we'll focus on the diff area if that's what you're looking for. But yeah, other than that, I think I don't think I've left anything out. I think I covered everything I was looking for. So yeah, if you got any more questions, feel free to leave them. But I'm gonna head off now, get some sleep, ready for what's likely going to be a fairly tumultuous night, as is the case these days. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thanks for joining. Thanks for contributing. Thanks for supporting. And until the next time, we'll see you later. Bye bye.